Well, hello and welcome to the Fairhaven Church Parent Talks podcast, where we desire to equip and empower you as parents to lead well in your home. Today, I'm joined by Levi, campus pastor and student pastor, 2 roles. 3 roles.
3 roles.
5 hats?
Pastor.
I don't really know. You do a lot of things. He's at the Beaver Creek
good.
campus,
Yeah.
though, so it's great to have you.
Yeah.
Thanks for
great to be
joining.
here.
And Johnny, also from the Beaver Creek campus.
The Beaver Creek boys.
Beaver
Oh
Creek
my
boys.
goodness.
We're out here.
Here we go.
Let's go.
This is like our second podcast as the Beaver Creek boys.
I know. The last time I was on was with Johnny. I think that's
Johnny, you can't be fidgety.
Look, I have a bad case of ADHD, which works great for kids ministry, but like when you're dialoguing and like sitting, I feel like I gotta move sometimes.
Yeah.
Nope, you can't do it.
Can't
but
do
you
it.
know what you can do? Answer this
Okay,
question
okay.
for me, okay? If you were on a deserted island and you could only have one thing and it cannot be a Bible, okay? Just because, you only have one thing. We all assume we're going to take a Bible, but you have one thing. It's either one object that like lasts forever
Okay.
or like that one thing to infinity.
Mm-hmm.
So you never run out of that one thing. What would it be?
Oh, man. That's
I know immediately from my trips to the beach, I would want sunscreen. I would burn the first day, and then every day would be
that.
torture after that.
Oh,
So
that.
if I had an endless supply of sunscreen, I could figure the rest out. But like,
Yeah.
Okay, how many times have you been to the beach?
well, just twice. But that's enough for me to know that
That you need sunscreen.
Yeah, I need sunscreen bad.
Oh. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would go with coffee
Oh,
because
sure. Okay.
I just enjoy it. Like I want to wake up and have coffee. And then if I'm bored, I want to have coffee. And if I'm cold, I want to have coffee.
But what if that's like,
So
There's very little that coffee doesn't make better.
yeah, right?
That's true.
So I would take an endless supply of coffee.
would you feel hydrated after drinking
No,
only coffee
maybe.
on the
No. Apparently that's not how that
Hmm.
works, even though it's water
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
That's sad.
I would pick I think I would pick rope. I just feel like endless supplies of rope. You
Yeah,
can't
that-
go wrong.
Yeah.
And I picked that mostly because the one thing Samwise Gamgee wished he would have packed on the epic journey of the Lord of the Rings was rope. That's the one thing he forgot. And I don't want it to be that. I want to know I've got
It's a good
rope.
one.
Yeah.
Man,
And you can write in the sand with rope.
You can do all
You can do anything.
endless supplies of rope.
Yeah.
Of course. That's what I would pick.
That's a good
yeah, that is good. I feel like the Lord of the Rings keeps coming up in conversation, and I don't know anything about it.
It's
And
been 25 years since the
I'm
movies.
feeling left out.
so-
I
They're
think I'm gonna
very
have to
good
watch
movies.
it.
You can go watch them in theaters. I think right
Wow.
now, which is
That's
insane.
crazy.
Yeah, like it's been 25 years since the Fellowship of the Ring, so it's
No way we're
yeah.
that old.
yeah, no, that's
Wow.
it's been 25 years. So
That's
All right.
crazy.
my family just watched through the movies, the extended editions together. Took us like 4 weeks, so it's 4 hours long the last
Yeah.
one. So you gotta
Yeah, good luck with that.
sit down, watch this movie.
Take
So,
some time.
Yeah, it's a big
Well,
deal.
maybe y'all can check that out while I'm
Yeah, for
checking
older
it
kids,
out.
definitely for older
yes.
kids. It's,
yes.
it's a little intense.
For sure.
So, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, today we're jumping in to our curriculum. We're continuing in the series that we've been in, and we're going to be really focusing on the idea that we are called to walk in the better way with Jesus, and that better way actually frees us. And so we're going to be focusing in on that this week. It's really an important reminder for our kids, but for us as adults, as followers of Jesus, because we cannot lead our families where we aren't willing to go ourselves. And so it's just going to be a great conversation reminding us about that. We're going to take a look at some of the hardships that were experienced between David and Saul. And then we're going to be reminded of the heart of God for all humanity, which is really important. As you know, we talk a lot about how we see Jesus through all of Scripture and God's plan for us and how he has loved us and proven his love for us and his faithfulness to us. And so we're going to be reminded of that as well. Last week, in case you didn't remember as you were coming into listening to this, we talked about David and Goliath. And so that's really important to be reminded of because it was through that situation, through David defeating Goliath, that it brought him really like a lot of popularity. People really respected him. And then Saul started to develop a significant amount of jealousy toward David, which in turn caused a lot of problems. And so we're going to be jumping into 1 Samuel 24. So Johnny, give us an overview.
Yeah. So I feel like I love this story just because of a lot of different reasons. But like when you read it, you got the context of like, here's Saul. He's filled with this anger, with this jealousy, with this envy, because he's the current king of Israel. But there's already someone else that's anointed to be the next king of Israel. And God has taken his spirit away from Saul. And while we don't know what that looks like, we do know that Saul was no longer going to be king. And so in 1 Samuel 21, I like this because you can kind of see why Saul was getting a little jealous, a little envious. Here are some of the phrases that were being used. Some people were saying, "Isn't this David, the king of the land?" And then here's another one. "Saul has killed his thousands, and David has killed his 10,000s." So Saul, he's probably hearing all these things, and he's like, okay, like this guy, he's got to go.
Like a 10x leader.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah,
it's not a great look for Saul.
10 times better leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 1 Samuel 24, David is actually out in the wilderness. He's trying to hide from Saul, and Saul gathers his troops, sends them out, and he's like, we got to find this guy, and we got to end him. And so on the road, Saul has to take a bathroom stop. You don't know how long this road trip's been. He's got to take a stop, and so
long enough at least.
Yeah,
unless it's my family, very short.
So I do imagine the road trip, and Saul's finding the nearest cave, and he picks the same cave where David is hiding. What are the
chances of that?
What are the chances?
It's a great it's not coincidence because you could see how God has brought all this together for his glory, but you read it and you're like, okay, David and his troops are hiding in this cave, and then all of a sudden Saul walks in. They must have been scared, but then Saul is just going to the bathroom, so like it must have been some pressure relieved.
The amount of time we have already spent on that part. I must be here with two guys.
But it was in this cave. But it's an inescapable part of the story. But in this cave, in verse 4, you hear David's men whispering to him, saying, "Now's your opportunity. Today the Lord is telling you, I will certainly put your enemy into your power to do with as you wish." So like they see Saul, they see that he's vulnerable, and they're like, "Hey, David, this is your chance. You can be king right now." And so David goes up and he actually cuts off a part of his cloak, and he feels like guilt. He feels remorse. He's like, I shouldn't have done that. You could see that David came to the he knew it was his chance for power, but he came to the realization that Saul is God's anointed. God put him there for a reason, and God has his own timing. And David is like, I need to trust that. I can't take this as my own way. So instead of attacking Saul, he instead told Saul, "For the Lord placed you at my mercy, but I spared you because God has anointed." And Saul, his response to this is he says, "You have repaid me good for evil," and his eyes are open. Like he actually burst into tears. He says, "And now I realize that you are surely going to be king, and that the kingdom of Israel will flourish under your rule." So it's a very cool story. Like David has this opportunity, and he instead shows mercy.
And in that showing mercy, I mean, you see Saul has a transformation happening in his own life, which obviously couldn't have taken place if David had acted out of revenge and done, what his people around him were telling him to do. So that's a really cool thing to see as well. I said earlier that we are called to walk in the better way of Jesus. And we see that modeled by David specifically in this situation. And so we were talking a little bit about some of the cool, really theological and cultural things from the story that you could miss. So Levi, I was just wondering if you could help us to understand some of that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think this is a great, it's a story for every parent to have bookmarked, because you will be talking to these these themes will come up as you parent. And this is a great story to point to because there is almost always somebody that is going to peer pressure your kids and you're going to be talking to them about it. There's almost always going to be an easier way to do something, like copying down homework instead of doing the homework yourself, or taking a shortcut when you really need to do it the right way. This is an example from the scriptures that you can use with your kids. And point back. So, highlight it, put a little bookmark in there, familiarize yourself with the story and the principles that are there. There's a really cool one that I actually didn't know that was pointed out, and we were talking about it just a few moments ago, that the act of David actually cutting the robe, the king's robe, actually brings it out of alignment with what the scriptures required of the king's robe. So in a way, it's symbolizing the transfer of power from Saul to David, which is not what we expect. Because I think everyone in the story expects, the right thing to do here is God, his friends are all saying, God gave him into your hands. Like, if we take him out, all of these problems are easier. And David, instead of doing that, says, how could I touch the Lord's anointed? Like, that is a different thing than what we typically would expect, what our modern ears would expect, but also just like what the people then were like, why would you do this? As we said, extending mercy. But the symbolism is still there, that he cuts the robe. The robe's now not fit for a king. And it shows that the transfer of power is happening, and it's going to happen. So that's a pretty cool thing that I never really saw until you kind of dig into it a little bit, and points to something that there is the same thing is happening, but without the loss of life, with mercy being the key, with David taking not the easy road, but the high road, the one with integrity. And what a great example for us to be able to show our kids, hey, this is how we're supposed to be. Take the road of integrity, not the easy way. And so what a hard thing to do, because, David was on the run. This guy's trying to kill him, and he could have said, oh, this is done. We don't know what Saul is going to do, and that change is going to happen. He could just turn around and go, oh, man, like, you just made it easy for me, buddy. But God's in all of that, which is amazing.
Yeah. And I love how you pointed out that symbolism of how the transfer of power was going to happen no matter what. Yeah. And David used the godly way to follow through on that. And I think it's really cool how God shows us that all throughout Scripture. There's symbolism and different things happening all the time where we get to see how he is faithfully at work in everything that he's doing. But there is a right or a righteous way to approach things, right? Yeah. And when we do it that way, when we do it the better way of Jesus, it works out and God gets the glory. He gets the glory no matter what, but he's doing a work in our lives when we're humbling ourselves. David had to humble himself to say, this isn't the right way to do this. I trust God. He has been faithful. I've seen his faithfulness. He's promised that this is going to happen, and so I'm going to trust him. And I'm going to lean into his way and not my way. Yeah. So I think that's just so great to think through.
Yeah. How do we teach our kids to do that? This isn't a question. I'm sitting here wondering, I want that to be the way my son and my daughter interact with life. That, okay, I'm going to do the hard thing. We've told our kids since they were able to understand. It's probably before. You can do hard things. And sometimes what you do when no one's watching is just it's more important than what, it's so important that you're the same person when no one's watching. And so we're talking about that in a lot more ways now as my kids are getting older. But man, that's a thing I pray about, that they would do the godly thing. Yeah. And but it's training a child up in the way that they should go. It's not something that you can just have one conversation and it's time over time talking to them. But I'd be curious what you think. Like, how do you help your kids act in integrity even when no one's watching? Because he could have got away with it. You know, he was in the cave with a bunch of guys that would have said, "Yeah, way to go, buddy."
Yeah.
And then he can usurp the throne in a different way. He doesn't. And that's what we want our kids to, even when no one's watching, be able to do the right thing.
I'm just thinking, man, we have to do it first, right? Like we have to act with integrity before we can hope or expect that our children will.
Yeah.
And so searching our own hearts to figure out like where are those times where we're more readily available to do something that is easier and not something that's the better way of Jesus. And I'm just in my own heart, like processing through that right now. And like, okay, what are the things that I have done that I need to confess to Jesus, that I need to bring before him and ask for forgiveness for? But we just can't teach our kids. Again, we can't teach them something that we're not willing to do ourselves.
Yeah.
And so, you know, being able to model that, I guess, for our kids. And I think part of it is not pretending like we don't also wrestle with those things, right? Like we have to be really clear and honest with them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you're saying it's caught more than it's taught.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's both. Because I mean, I can't imagine not having some conversations with kids when they do something bad, like, hey, not that, you know.
Yep.
But they're going to pick up on the way, you know, are you the same person at home as you are at, you know, church?
Yeah.
Are you the same person whenever you're on the sidelines of a soccer field as you are, like, you know, at the dinner table, you know? Sometimes
Oh, man.
those are different. Sometimes those come out differently. And it's important to like maybe talk to our kids whenever we've probably not lived up to what we would expect to and say, hey, man, I just didn't do that. That honesty, I think, has gone really far. And we're just kind of getting there as I've got a 12-year-old and we're like, hey, you know, buddy, I kind of messed this one up and I want you to know, like, I'm really sorry. That wasn't honoring to you or to whatever, you know, whatever the circumstance was. Yeah. And I think that goes a long way. We'll see, you know, I'm like, we're actively parenting right now, you know, so it's a good thing to be the same person as much as you can. And when you do have a failure, own up to it, you know, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, Johnny, the important thing here is that this story points us to Jesus. How does it do that?
I mean, I like how when we look at Jesus, we can see through his actions, through his, you know, he lived a perfect, sinless life. But even when like people were trying to kill him and he didn't fight back, he didn't, you know, like he's like, okay, like these guys are like attacking me, sure, like, but like he loved them. And even when he was on the cross, he showed mercy when he said, like, Father, forgive them, you know. And so when he died and rose again, he didn't wait for us to get our lives together before he's like, okay, I can save these guys. No, he clothed us with his love, with his grace, and with his mercy when he died on the cross and rose again, because he loves us, because we are his children. And it's just an incredible act of love and mercy.
I love that. So I think the question is, how should the mercy that has been extended to us shape our hearts towards others? And I would say maybe especially as parents, that mercy that we've experienced in our lives, how should that shape us, shape our hearts?
I think of when I was reading through this, I was like, oh, like this is Matthew 18, the unmerciful servant. Like when you read that story, it's a story of a master who forgave his servant a huge debt. And then that servant's like, okay, I've been forgiven. I've been shown great mercy. And he goes up to someone that owes him a debt. He's like, hey, where's my money? And Jesus ends that parable. I have it written out right here where he says, shouldn't you have mercy on your fellow servant just as I had mercy on you? And when we read the Bible, like Lamentations 3:22-23 says, the faithful love of the Lord never ends. His mercies never cease. Great is his faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh each morning. Like when we look at the Bible, we have been clothed with such an incredible amount of mercy. And our expression of mercy shouldn't be flowing out of what God has clothed on us. And so when we show mercy, we're actually reflecting God. And it's like, we gotta walk in that so that other people can see God, through our actions. And it's very important for us to remember that as we have been wronged, that it's easy to want to like get back, and we can't respond to sin with more sin and expect to come on top.
Absolutely.
And to show God well. And what we have to do is to say, hey, I've been wronged. How can I show them Jesus instead?
That's good. There was a sentence that I was reading in the commentary on this. It said, it's impossible to achieve the purpose of God by breaking the commands of God. And I was just really struck by that. And you were just talking about like, the cycle of sin, like we have to be merciful to each other. And that just really caught my attention. It's impossible to achieve the purpose of God by breaking the commands of God.
Yeah.
And man,
it's like how Saul, his response to David showing mercy was he realized how merciful God was. He broke down in tears. Like it's such like, the other option was Saul would be dead, but because of David's mercy, Saul, he realized something.
Yeah, that's great.
There's a story of how to understand mercy that sticks with me. I heard a pastor say it once. I don't remember who it was. Unknown pastor. He had a good dad, and his dad caught him doing something that he shouldn't have done. Like it was a big enough thing that it's like, you're going to get a punishment. And he sat him down, he's like, well, did something. Dad finds out, dad gets home. He's sitting down. Son comes to the table. And he goes, what's justice? Justice is getting what you deserve, and he goes, let's get in the car. And then on the way, it's quiet, kid's shaking in his boots, he's like, what's, I'm justice. So like, we're going, what happens here? And he goes, what's mercy? And the kid goes, I don't know. He can't think straight because he's like, I just know I'm going to get, and I'm in trouble. Punishment's coming. And after a few minutes, the dad said, mercy is not getting what you deserve. And then they pull into an ice cream shop, and he says, what's grace? Grace is getting what you don't deserve. And that has stuck with me.
That's good.
Knowing the difference between justice, mercy, and grace.
Yeah.
And maybe that's an idea to use with your kids, like to be able to say, hey, I can teach you how to do this in a practical way that will stick with them forever. That didn't even happen to me. I heard it one time, and it's the thing I think about to help me remember what justice, mercy, and grace are, because we experience all of those from Christ. And that helps us to give those to others, when we know what they are. So helping our kids understand them is a big deal, and us even just understanding them too. Like sometimes it's easy to interchange them and think they're all the same. So
that's great.
Yeah.
So great. And so glad that we have a God who is merciful and loving and sent his son Jesus for us. So we're going to continue this conversation next week as our series continues and we learn about David finally becoming king. So make sure you join us next week.